cold anger, and sometimes hot anger.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Steel City Resistance edition of Cold War Radio is on tap for you this evening. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. Welcome and thank you for choosing Cold War Radio from the Alpha Foxtrot studio. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail, 412-567-1460. Please visit SteelCityResistance.com where you can become a Cold War Radio patron. You can also check out the research room, the video 2 page. If you'd like to write to the show, write to scrtv@live.com, scrtv@live.com. If you want to write via the U.S. mail, Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433, 370 Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, let's go over to the east and let's welcome the founding co-host of the show, Ward Miller. Hello, Ward.
Good evening, Hutch, and my fellow bacon-loving, dog-faced pony soldiers. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, doing just wonderful. Did you like that last little bumper? I wrote the words for that. Oh, there aren't any words. Yeah, that one. But, yeah, a lot of stuff going on for this show. I mean, because it spans from Friday until now, and I had a couple good things happen during that time. I had a little revelation reflecting on Friday night show. I got some anger management issues, Ward. I gotta work out, man. I mean, I'm telling you, the things
not you
that are going on out here have me yelling at listeners and whatnot. I don't usually do that, but I guess I realized it today. I was actually I was driving around over in my old stomping grounds over around your area, and I'm driving through. It was all about a hot dog. I wanted to get a hot dog, and there's a place over in Squirrel Hill called Frankie Buns, I think it's called. And I looked at this menu, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you know what? I want a Chicago hot dog. They call it the Elliott Ness for some reason. I don't know why. I guess Chicago, the Al Capone thing. But Elliott Ness is from Erie or Cleveland or something in Ohio. But anyway, man, I'm driving over there. I'm on Murray Avenue, and I don't see how people live over there. Word, I don't know how. I mean, these people pay $2 million for their house, and you can't drive. I mean, I went through 3 neighborhoods and just got madder as I went. I said, I got to get out of here. I got to get on the other side of this river. You know, I'm driving around and in Shadyside, they got Walnut Street blocked off, but you can't, there's no signs. So I made the right on Walnut Street off of Aiken Avenue, and it's like, shit, I can't go any further. And there's cars behind me. I got to back out into the intersection to continue on. And I'm thinking, wow, I drove through Oakland, which, ladies and gentlemen, was at one time, man, it was jumping. I mean, to tell you, when I was growing up, Oakland was a place to be.
Oh yeah, especially with Pitt and CMU there, and there was always students running around and
always businesses out there to support our age group. I mean, you go through there now, and I swear I came up Forbes all the way from town, so I went through Uptown and all that. But when I went through the basic part of Oakland that I'm talking about, man, it looks like a blighted city, Ward. Is it me? Or I mean, because you have vast more experience in the area than I do. But, man, I'm telling you, I came up through there, especially with the O, like half a blighted property now. It just doesn't look the same, man. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a third world town.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the whole COVID thing, man. I mean, when you consider that, 90% of the traffic, foot traffic you see in Oakland is going to be students. the students that actually made it to the school don't leave their dorms or don't leave, they're sequestered inside, the lockdown. Excuse me. So that's what ends up happening. I mean, it's terrible. I mean,
it is.
It's shameful what happened to places like the O. I mean, that are known nationwide. I mean that's a big place.
And it was. I mean, there's nothing that's going to match it.
No.
I mean, people are trying, but I mean, you're not going to match it with modernity. That's old school stuff right there. That just. And I mean, people that are outside the listening area don't know what we're talking about, but you all have your iconic establishments where you live, and it's just sad to see them go. I mean, the O is something that fathers pass down to kids, grandfathers pass down to fathers, pass down to kids, pass down to grandkids.
Yeah.
It's that kind of place, and it just, it's sad. And when you look at, there used to be 1,000 businesses in Oakland that were thriving. On all the side streets and everything. And I mean, I didn't see it today.
No, it's really sad.
Hope it comes back, man. I really do. Now on the good side, on Saturday, one of the things I was deathly afraid of is that I'm not going to be able, this is how petty my life is. I'm not going to be able to eat hoagies anymore. One of my favorite staples in life. I don't know about you, Ward, but hoagies they're up there with me, man.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it's where we were raised. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's actually a food group. Hoagies is its own food group. You have the milk group and the cheese group and the hoagie group.
And on Saturday, I said, all right, man, I'm going to do this. And I ordered a half a meatball from this place down in Imperial that I knew was good. And I'm thinking, oh, man, here we go. Boy, I'll tell you what. It was one of the meatball hoagies that on the end, right where they cut it, because I got a half, right at where it's cut, the meatball was like leaking out of the bun, right? Mm-hmm. So I attacked that first. And, oh, God, that was so good, man.
Because that's usually the one that rolls down your shirt.
Yeah, I know. And I was in my brand new truck. And I'm thinking, man, I don't let anybody eat in this truck. And here I am eating a meatball in it. But anyway, it was good. Had a hot sausage tonight. I'm going to move on to like your regular hoagies, your Italians and whatnot with lettuce and tomato and onion and that on it next. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, that was a good thing. And just wrapping this up, Sal was in the studio last Wednesday and wants to do a show live with me and you, Ward. So think that over someday, and we'll see if we can make it happen. If we can, we can. This show.
Oh, okay.
He was in the studio, and he's like, man, it would be nice to have Ward here, too. And I was like, that's all right. Okay, we can. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. I got to move some stuff around, but I have enough equipment to do it. So anyway, think about that. It's not super important, but it's something to think about.
All right.
And again, I wanted to just take a minute. I'm not going to blather about it, but had a caller on Friday night, Michelle. I kind of lost. I apologize. I see in the comments you're probably never going to call back again. I don't blame you. But I just wanted you to know that that wasn't nothing personal, man. I hate every country but the United States. That's just me. It's that anger management coming out in me. But that being said, I railed on Canada pretty well. So let me regroup and start the show with a little history and give Canada a little bit of its due because they are due a little bit of honor. And a lot of people aren't going to know this, but the first Special Service Force, at least in the 1940s, there were others prior to this, but in the modern age, the history of the first Special Service Force, properly designated as the first Special Service Force, the Devil's Brigade, was a joint World War II American-Canadian commando unit trained at Fort Harrison near Helena, Montana in the United States. Many modern American and Canadian Special Forces units trace their heritage to this unit. For the movie of the same name, watch The Devil's Brigade. Little background, the volunteers for the 1,800-man force consisted primarily of enlisted men recruited by advertising at army posts, stating that preference was to be given to men previously employed as lumberjacks, forest rangers, hunters, game wardens, and the like. The 1st Special Service Force was officially activated on July 20th, 1942, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Robert T. Frederick. Much feared for their fighting prowess, the moniker the Black Devils was adopted after the discovery of the personal diary of a German officer referring to Die Schwarzen Teufeln, the Black Devils, citation needed, so you know that comes from Wikipedia. With blackened faces, small units would often overwhelm German defenders without firing a shot and then disappear into the night. Force members received rigorous and intensive training in stealth tactics, hand-to-hand combat, the use of explosives for demolition, parachuting, amphibious warfare, rock climbing, mountain warfare, and as ski troops. From the outset, the 1st Special Service Force was armed with a variety of non-standard or limited-issue weapons, such as the M1941 Johnson machine gun. The Johnson light machine gun, in particular, helped greatly increase the firepower of the unit and was highly regarded by those who used it in combat. Frederick himself participated in the design of a fighting knife made exclusively for the force called the V-42 combat knife, a derivative of the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. The formation patch was a red spearhead with the words USA written horizontally and Canada written vertically. The branch of service insignia was the crossed arrows formerly worn by the U.S. Army Indian Scouts. The unit wore red, white, and blue piping on their garrison cap and on the breast oval behind their parachutist wings. Members of the unit also wore a red, white, and blue fourragère, lanyard, or shoulder cord made out of parachute shroud lines. If you want to check out some more about the history of this operation, check out firstspecialserviceforce.net. firstspecialserviceforce.net. An interesting story, Ward, and it's amazing the way things play out after after Friday's show this weekend. I was watching documentaries like I normally do when I watch television, and didn't a documentary come on about the Black Devils? And I figured, how appropriate is that? I think I'll bring this to the audience.
A good call. I mean, that was something I didn't know.
No, I didn't either. I mean, you don't normally hear of stories like that with Canada, but it was a true story, and I got a kick out of it.
I mean, really, as far as the United States is concerned, if you think about it, the special forces per se didn't get any exposure until Kennedy. Now, I don't know if Kennedy was the one who created, Kennedy was given credit for creating the Green Berets. But
well, he did. I mean, the headquarters is the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely know that he did that. But, I mean, so it's like, well, there were special forces around prior to. So I guess that maybe Kennedy made them complete U.S., complete United States troop.
Well, something that
what's the word I'm looking for?
A lot of people don't realize that the special forces, the Green Berets, if you will, special operations encompasses many different units, but the Green Berets are instructors. They go in A teams. I mean, they have the capability of fighting. But if you're going to send a force to fight, it's not going to be special forces. It's not going to be the Green Berets.
No, they're going to send the Rangers in.
Send the Rangers, the Army Rangers, or something of that nature. And you got the SAS in England, in the United Kingdom, the Special Air Service, which was formed about the same time as the Rangers. And when you look at those guys are about the same. They're tough. They're good guys. I met several of them already. I'm trying to remember their motto, "To those who dare," or something like that. But they're tough guys. If you want to see a good movie concerning the Special Air Service, The Final Option is a good one, where they have the people that are all in Congress right now, back when they were in college and they were communist protesters and activists. It has them over in England, and they're trying to wreak havoc with. They're trying to get the U.S. government to neutralize some sub bases and things like that in Groton, Connecticut, I think. But they take a whole bunch of people hostages, and then the SAS saves them. It's pretty good, rescues them. Good movie, one of the best. All right, so there's that. Canada, the War Horses of Canada. I have a call, and the audio is a little tough, but I want to play it. Did I even put it up here? I don't think I did. Let me double check and see if I did. I did not. Did I? No, but I can take care of that real quick. But what this is, it's a caller from Texas, and I'm not positive if the audio is a little tough. So it's a little tough for me to see if she's giving the vote to the show or what. But we'll let you figure out. We're going to play it, and we're going to see how it sounds with headphones on. And if you made this call and I made any mistakes in illustrating it, please give us a line at scrtv@live.com or call. You can call the show unless you're not able to listen during live times. Anyway, Texas, here we go.
Hi, I decided to give this podcast line a go. This is April from Texas. And I believe it was the last show that y'all did. You touched on what's happening here in our great state with the snow and the freezing. And I just have to say, it's really like nothing I've seen. It is about the power outages, of course, but people are without electricity and or water as well. It's something to see. And you have to think about the delivery cuts and all the supplies and things that aren't able to get to the stores and things like that. A lot of the stores are empty in a lot of places. And not to be hyperbolic, but I'm kind of liking it to like a hurricane devastation because of all the outages and the water, nobody having water, and the stores being empty of supplies. So I think next week our state's going to be rebounding back from this. A lot of people have gotten their power back, and after next week, a lot of people should be able to get their water going again. Our infrastructure here in Texas is just not made for the dropping temperature like what happened, or the water piping and all that. And one last thing, I know that there's been some talk about our Senator Ted Cruz going to Cancun during this time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, that was a little tough to hear. It sounded like she was in an empty room and we got all that echo. And just for anybody that wants to call, you saw that end pretty directly. You got 2 minutes, man. 2 minutes and it shuts off. All right, that's not me. That's the system doing that. So try to keep it under 2 minutes. If you have to go longer than that, then you're going to have to call back twice. But there you go. It sounds like things are getting better, Ward, but I had a hard time in between words there.
Sure. I think it to me, it sounded like she was in a swimming pool or something. And, but I mean, it's an empty room is probably what it is. And, she's trying to record it on a phone maybe, or she did call in, right? So right. It was, from her phone. So there was an echo involved. But I did get, some of the stuff that she was trying to say. And, I have complete confidence that that's Obama's fault. Partially because he came out and stopped about 100 coal plants down in Texas and replaced them with wind farms, except for the fact that they didn't take into account, hey, you know what, if we get a really, crappy winter storm, the turbines are going to freeze. So the wind farm becomes basically useless. And so we're not going to have power. And, it's just completely poor planning. And then you got Schumer and AOC coming out going, see, that's what happens when you don't follow the green agenda.
Oh,
it's like, what? The green agenda is what put them into that situation. Had they had coal burning plants, nobody would have lost a minute of power. Now, as it is, because everything froze solid because of the cold and the lack of power, there's going to be pipes bursting all over the place. They said that there was hundreds of water main breaks that they got to deal with, before they can even start putting all the water back on. So, I mean, they still got a long road to hoe, as far as, getting coming out the other end of this. I mean, Texas will, because Texas is tough. But that being said, I don't think they would have needed to be as tough as they are had, there been some kind of forethought that said, hey, you know what happens if, that's a single point of failure.
Yeah. And I mean, when you look,
there's no wind for whatever reason, you guys don't have electricity.
You look at some of the other things. I'm looking at the notes from Friday's show. And I'm not sure if we got to this, but Biden's insane executive order on climate change gave China access to the U.S. grid. Suddenly, there's an energy crisis in Texas. Any relationship? Where the federal government has failed to meet that commitment in the past, it must advance environmental justice. In carrying out this charge, the federal government must be guided by the best science and be protected by the processes that ensure the integrity of federal decision-making. It is therefore the policy of my administration to listen to the science, to improve public health and protect our environment, to ensure access to clean air and water, to limit exposure to dangerous chemicals and pesticides, to hold polluters accountable, including those who disproportionately harm communities of color and low-income communities, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to, Jesus, man, this never ends. I'm trying to get to the Chinese part here, and it just keeps on dragging on. It turns out that the same day Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline, he also lifted the security on our power grid for 90 days. Trump's executive order the year prior secured our power grid by giving China no access. Executive Order 13920, as of 1 May 2020, securing the United States bulk power system, is hereby suspended for 90 days. The Secretary of Energy and the Director of OMB shall jointly consider whether to recommend that a replacement order be issued. This was just a small little paragraph tucked away in one of Biden's EOs the first day he was in office under the umbrella of restoring science to tackle the climate crisis. Of course, science and climate crisis are polar opposites. Looking over the EO, there appears to be nothing that benefits the United States of America, which begs the question, who wrote and approved this mess? Can't you see Xi Jinping just patting this idiot on the top of his head, Ward?
Oh, absolutely.
This is sickening.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that kills me, is they keep saying that they keep beating this drum. Follow the science. But they don't.
Never.
Because they even took the trans testicle out of Pennsylvania, put him in D.C., and they're still saying that that's a woman, when the science says it isn't. So when is the science? So do we get to pick and choose the science?
I can't.
As to what's actual science? Because I mean, actually, science, if you want to go, mathematics is one of the truest forms of science there is, and mathematically, Joe Biden didn't get elected. So let's go by the science, you jackass.
How about the freaking Supreme Court, man? Supreme Court refuses to review Pennsylvania election cases. Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas dissent. What happened to Kavanaugh and what's her name? Garrett, whatever her name was. I thought they were conservatives. What up? What's going on? We got screwed again, man. We got Kennedy'd over here.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. And
It is.
And of course, Roberts ran and voted with the Democrats.
Jesus. It's unreal, man. It just it blows the mind. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something different tonight with the calls after 9 o'clock. I want you to tell me, here's the funny thing. I started the show off saying I'm going to worry about anger management, and calm down a little bit. And every single every single story that I brought to the show is enough to piss you off 3 times. You know, so we're going to try to calm it down a little bit in the call section. If you want to call tonight, I want to hear something that you're doing during this COVID or during this time frame that maybe you didn't do before that's helping you get through this. Let's see if we can't help each other out and bring something to the group, to the audience that maybe they could do, you know, that you're doing to help you get through this and, you know, whatever, just something positive, something upbeat. And we'll see how that works. We might have to have a mental health break every week or two here to see what's going on. But, you know, there is some good things going on out there, Ward, and a lot of them look like resistance. And I don't know, I'm not ready at this point in time to stand up and give the grand old party any accolades or anything of that nature at this point, because really I don't trust them. I think a lot of what they're doing right now is posturing and positioning and trying to cover up the fact that they're Democrats. But that being said, it looks like there's a little resistance to Biden's picks for his Politburo. President Joe Biden's nominee to lead the Department of Health and Human Services is under fire as Republicans in the Senate unify against him, and Democrats remain uncertain if they will be able to cobble together enough votes to secure a confirmation. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican Arkansas, meanwhile is launching new television ads in both New Hampshire and Georgia against the Biden HHS nominee and California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, where Democrat Senators Maggie Hassan and Raphael Warnock face tough re-election bids in battleground states in 2022. Now, I want you to listen to this clip and tell me if this sounds like a freshman senator to you or if Cotton has been completely buried in the swamp. Let's listen.
Javier Becerra wants to be Joe Biden's Secretary of Health Care, but Becerra supports Bernie's government takeover of your health care, eliminating your employer-provided coverage. Becerra defended California's disastrous lockdowns that have destroyed small businesses and hurt school children. So extreme, Becerra even sued nuns for practicing their faith. You can't trust Javier Becerra with your health care. Tell your senator to vote no.
I'm Tom Cotton, and I approve this message.
Well, I don't know about you, Ward. That sounds like something Mitch McConnell would put out.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Cotton, you know, because he got bashed after the saying that he was going to do the, vote against verification and whatnot. And he took a lot of heat for a couple of weeks over that. And then when it finally dies down, then he comes out with this, and it's like,
It's just I don't trust him. I mean, I want to trust Cotton. I want to, but, you get screwed so many times. And it's just like, how many times am I going to go down this road, man?
Well, the thing that got me was there was this huge outcry when Ted Cruz went to Mexico.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, okay, why is that a problem? I don't understand. I mean, he's the senator from Texas, but really, he doesn't do anything.
No,
he's not going to be the one that
it.
directs FEMA. He's not going to be the one that does, pretty much anything.
It shows you where the media is. I mean, that's a non-story, and they ran with it for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's nothing.
He went on vacation. I mean, and the thing is, he couldn't do nothing had he stayed here. He's a senator.
The lighting was bad. The lighting was bad. He should have, he should have thought about it. But what are you going to do? Live your whole life like your whole life's a lie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He took his girls to wherever they went.
They went to Mexico.
Yeah.
And hell,
that's right
if
next
you had
door,
the choice
by the
between
way.
being in Texas where it's, minus 10 degrees or in Mexico where it's 85.
Right.
It's really not. That's a no-brainer, man.
They don't say anything to Nancy Pelosi when she takes the House to Italy.
Exactly.
If you remember that monstrosity. But we did, we bitched about it. It's half our fault too. The consumer, the news consumer, they love to hear that. I mean, I can't tell you how many Republicans, conservatives, Trump supporters just lost their mind on Cruz. I mean, I don't know. It's unfortunate, I think, that we're doing that. But that's the way it is, man. I mean, that's the news cycle. Everybody's out for blood. If it's what they say, if it bleeds, it leads, or something like that, is what people like, the crazy stuff. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said that he is whipping votes for President Joe Biden's nominee, Neera Tanden, another questionable American citizen, to lead the Office of Management and Budget despite pushback from senators. I'm working with President Biden to find the extra votes so she can be passed, he told reporters during a news conference in New York on Sunday, mentioning Senator Joe Manchin, who said last week he would not vote for Tanden. I think she would be a very good OMB leader, Schumer added. New York State, okay, that's it. And I think Senator Collins is against her as well. So I don't know. Is this something that we're starting to see? I remember right after the election, they spent so much time making sure that they took Trump off the ballot. They didn't worry about anybody down ballot except for our couple representatives here in Pennsylvania. So the margin of differential between the parties is not there. It's not big. So, there's a lot of stuff they're not going to be able to pass, Ward, if we can hold it together just a little bit.
Yeah. Manchin's another one, though. I don't trust him.
Not as far as I could throw him.
I mean, he says a lot of stuff and then backs up. Collins, I think, would probably do it just because of the way she is. But Manchin, I don't know. I'm sure that he's holding out to be bought.
That's probably what's going on with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that, and that's what I mean. But Cotton, I don't know. See, the thing that always gets in the way is the NSA, Ward. It's the NSA and Maxine Waters. We got stuff on everybody. I highly believe that. I think that's there's no question. If you go into Congress and you're carrying some stuff in your closet, you're nuts. Absolutely nuts. It's coming out, man. If it doesn't come out, they're going to turn you. They're going to turn you, guaranteed. They're going to turn you out, man. They're going to do what they want to do. New York State Representative Colin Schmidt, Republican, believes that the state very well could. Let me tell you a story about this. I almost played a clip, but I started recording this clip, and there's a couple guys in the conservative hierarchy that I just can't freaking stand. And it's not really so much their ideology or their ideas, it's their presentation. There's two people. One of them's name is Ben Shapiro, and the other one is Alex Marlow. And in my opinion, both of them have way too much leverage in the conservative movement because they both sound like chipmunks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard these guys, but I don't see how anyone could take either one of these children seriously. And I wouldn't give a rat's ass if they were 60 years old. They sound like children.
Yeah, Shapiro has that real nasally, real high-pitched voice. However, if you really listen to him, dude's smart.
I know.
And he doesn't – I mean, he goes on them college campus tours, and he takes it to them every night. And, and especially a lot of these places now are setting up against them, so that they put implants and whatnot just to – rabble rouse or whatever you want to call it. And he handles them every night. And they post the stuff on YouTube. I've been watching him for a while. I mean, I agree with you that his voice is irritating, but his ideas aren't bad.
The other thing that got me about him was the way he sided with Glenn Beck against Trump. That pissed me off, and that's something that it's going to take me a long time to get over because it was during times where we needed backup. But what you're saying is correct. He does, other than some arrogance and him getting beat down by a tranny one time, the rest is right. I think he is brilliant. Now, when you look at Alex Marlow, and both of these guys came from Breitbart, by the way. Marlow's still with Breitbart. He runs Breitbart. But you look at him, and he takes his speaking acumen from Steve Bannon, and he's no Steve Bannon. He can't pull it off the way Steve Bannon does. When Alex Marlowe starts going, that's the way he sounds. And Bannon can pull that off, but Alex Marlowe can't. And I wouldn't even play the clip because of that, because I was getting sick out just listening to it. Because I listen to things like that, because everybody that sits there in front of a microphone is going to stutter a little bit. But you can't do it every 3 seconds. You should listen to your own tape sometime. But anyway, back to the situation at hand. Representative Colin Schmidt, a Republican from New York, believes that the state very well could end up with a Republican governor following Governor Andrew Cuomo's nursing home cover-up, which he referred to as a criminal conspiracy to the highest order. He told Breitbart News Sunday the scandal is bringing together progressive, far-left assembly members with Republicans and slammed New York Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, who recently hired an ex-gang member to serve as a senior advisor to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, for remaining silent. This is a criminal conspiracy to the highest order. It's a criminal cover-up by Cuomo and the administration, Schmidt said of the Cuomo administration's cover-up, which saw officials hiding the real number of people who died of the Chinese coronavirus in nursing homes due to fears of a federal investigation. Do you think New York will hire another Democrat as Governor Ward? And what about Pennsylvania? Are they smart enough here to stop this?
Well, as long as they got the Dominion voting machines, it doesn't matter who they want.
All right,
but that being said, Cuomo, I mean, when this first started, you sent me a text that says, they're throwing Cuomo under the bus. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. He's going to take a fall.
Newsom too. And I think they're doing that to protect They're protecting the federal people. That's what's happening, in my opinion. That's why I sent you that. This is a trend, man. This is a trend. I got a story down here.
Well, the thing is, and we talked about this last week, the fact that Cuomo used we didn't want the real number to get out because we didn't need a federal investigation. That's like, okay, we committed a crime.
And said that. I know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, I committed a crime, but I really don't want to be investigated. So, yeah, we lied.
It's unreal.
And then he tried to sweep it under the rug, pulling it, a Hillary. What difference does it make?
How the mighty have fallen. Democrat governors Cuomo and Newsom, once Democrat kingpins, now face removal from office. And on your previous point, Ward, I wanted to bring this up because I think this is gonna be the bellwether of what happens concerning Dominion. Dominion Voting Systems sues Mike Lindell for $1.3 billion. He's not the only person that they've sued. They've sued some of these lawyers.
Yeah, they sued Sidney Powell.
And I think Giuliani maybe too.
Yeah.
Well, let's look and see what happens there, because that'll tell a lot. Those are citizens. Those aren't politicians. Those are citizens that are going to hire lawyers on their side, that are going to want to see discovery and everything else. And now that the only fear I have is if it ever gets to the Supreme Court Court's corrupt. It's shot. The Supreme Court is shot. It's liberal. No matter what anybody says, it's communist. It might as well not be there when it comes to us getting a win. Unless I'm missing something.
No, I agree with you. I mean, in a real world, Dominion doesn't have a case. I mean, there's so much overwhelming evidence that they don't have a case that, the fact that they're suing shows. I mean, they're suing so they could say, hey, look, we are so confident in the fact that we didn't do anything wrong. We're going to sue Mike Lindell for $1.3 billion. The problem with that is as soon as they do that, they say, okay, we're going to go through discovery. And discovery is where it's going to screw them, because then they have to give access to their software to experts. They have to give access to the machines themselves to experts. The fact that these devices were plugged into the internet at any point.
And overseas, for Christ's sakes. I mean, not even here.
I mean, and they were tracing packets overseas and whatnot. That whole thing is, just stinks. So, they might have misstepped to open up, those lawsuits with Giuliani and Lindell.
You look at Lindell, you look at his reporting, and you said it at the beginning of the show, mathematics is science. And he's got math. I mean, he's not he didn't just come out and start talking smack, man. I mean, he's got some theory behind it.
And the guys he's got, that Pinkerton dude, or Pinkton, he's like a super genius when it comes to statistics. The one guy that he had was the guy that invented email. He's a professor at MIT with a million different degrees. Yeah, and he's the one who come out and said, no, there's absolutely no way statistically that could happen. I
remember hearing about that. And Al Gore came out and said he didn't invent the internet. I did. That's just Al Gore.
No, he didn't invent the internet. He didn't invent the internet. He invented email.
Yeah, there you go.
Gore invented the internet.
That's right. When Gore was here at CMU, he did it, right?
Exactly.
So Vice President Mike Pence has declined an offer to speak at this year's CPAC. And Donald Trump will reportedly tell CPAC in Florida this week that he is the Republicans' presumptive 2024 nominee for president. Trump will address CPAC on Sunday. His subject, the future of the party he took over in 2016, primary, then led from the White House through 4 tumultuous years. On Monday, citing anonymous sources, the news site Axios reported his plan to assume the mantle of challenger to Joe Biden or another Democrat should the 78-year-old pedophile decide not to run for a second term. Do you guys realize, you Democrats, you freaking elected a pedophile? You people are sick. I'm serious. Never Trumpers, too. You guys, I mean, it's there, man. You can see it. It's on freaking YouTube. This guy is a pedophile.
81 million people did not vote for this clown.
No.
I don't care how they try and convince you. I mean, and basically what they're doing is they installed this moron, and then when you question it, you're either shouted down because there's no evidence of wrongdoing, or they stick their fingers in their ears and go, da, 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 I can't hear you.
That's exactly right.
And that's really what it is.
It is.
And that's the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Republicans have too much shame to do something like that.
I have a good family friend, and I posted something. I was going through, I'm thinking about maybe retiring down south in a couple years, and I'm doing some research and whatnot. And I'm looking at the concealed carry reciprocity list. I mean, it doesn't really matter, because if I move, I'll get a permit from the state that I moved to. But I wanted to see if my Pennsylvania license worked, where I was going to, a couple weeks, I'm going to go visit Savannah, Georgia, I think. And so I looked them up, and I was pretty sure Georgia was good, but I looked at the states that did not honor Pennsylvania's concealed carry license, and I put a post on Facebook, and I said the following states do not honor your Second Amendment's rights if you are from Pennsylvania. I listed the states. And this person came back, to your point on the came back, and the argument was, that's concealed carry reciprocity, not Second Amendment. This is incorrect data. I'm thinking, now hold on a minute. How's that going to help me if I'm getting mugged and I can't pull my pistol out? To me, I don't have the Second Amendment right if I can't carry my gun, right?
Well, I think what the point that they're trying to make is that's not the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment says you can carry your gun. the concealed carry may be the issue. So if you open carry,
I'd have to look into that. Yeah, I guess that could have been too. Yeah.
I mean, that might have been the path they were taking, is to say, well, it's not truly going to take away your Second Amendment right.
But in reality, it does, though.
Conceal it.
In reality, it does.
You can't conceal it.
But I don't know of a place where you can carry openly and can't carry concealed with a license. I mean, I'd have to check, but I don't think I could do that. You carry openly in New Jersey, you're going to jail. The same way with New York and the same way with Philadelphia. I mean,
in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're a gang member in Chicago and
Right.
you're actively shooting at someone, you get a pass.
And my point was semantics. That was my point. That's the argument.
And that's
semantic.
exactly
It's
what
not-
it was. It was semantics, because it doesn't truly impact your Second Amendment rights. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Unless
It
you need
impacts
it.
your ability to carry a gun.
Right. So what do you think about Mike Pence, man? Him declining the offer? You think he's a little
Because he'd
little
be shot
afraid?
off stage.
He would be, man.
absolutely.
He would.
I mean,
He's
really,
dead.
what kind of move does he do?
Right.
I mean,
He's done.
He said that they said that he was going to try and look into the after
luck.
a little bit of time, he was going to look into his political future. And I'm like, his political future is dead.
It is. You can
He
get
is
Rick White.
DOA.
Pence, go get Rick White, and he could be your campaign manager. I don't want anybody to forget about how never Trumpers feel about us.
University.
Right.
Also, he doesn't really say that she couldn't identify Ukraine on a map. He insinuates it's just a petty attempt to put her down, right? Is that what this is?
Of course. Of course.
Mike Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen.
He's just trying to demean her, and obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump.
That's you, folks.
That wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading, your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize. But by the way,
oh my God!
But you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick. But in all honesty,
Blame
you know what
Rick.
NPR should do?
Why not? Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Can I tell you
Give me
what?
a second. Hold on. Sorry. That was good. Sorry, Rick. That was a good one. I needed that. Okay, so listen.
This is CNN. That's what it's gotten down to, man. It has deteriorated to the dumbest common denominator. I mean,
Well, here's the thing. Without Trump, they have nothing to report on because they're not allowed to say anything about Biden. So, I mean, the astronomical mistakes that Biden's been making, they can't say anything about. So what do? They got to sit there and talk about, what happened with Trump. Trump is living rent-free in their heads.
He is. And in a lot of, like you said, those are Republicans, except for Don Lemon. But the Indian dude and White, those guys are Republicans. I think I'm pretty sure I know at least White is. Rick White was a GOP consultant. He's part of the consultant class. He helped freaking John McCain and everybody else. I like to get that.
You know what's interesting about that, though? They're sitting there giggling like little
girls.
Yeah, like little schoolgirls. But the bottom line is Trump had created 3 different peace treaties in the Middle East. That's 3 more than Obama. That's 3 more than, pretty much anybody. Nobody had 3 in the Middle East. Jimmy Carter was the one that was the closest, and he had Israel and Egypt. And he got a Nobel Peace. He got nominated for a Peace Prize for that, for one.
And he was
Trump had
anti-Semitic. You look at some of his works. I remember he wrote a book, and somebody analyzed the map that he had in the preface of the book, and it cut Israel out. He's bad. Jimmy Carter was bad. He didn't do any favors to Israel. I mean, he did in a way, But a lot of people died during those times too, during his treaty.
Oh, sure.
You know, but he was the only one. I mean, then, like you said, the way that Donald Trump, he didn't go to Israel first. He went to the Middle East first and got them straightened out. He talked to Netanyahu, but remember, he went to Saudi Arabia and they did that sword dance and everything. And, you know, he put them to work, man. He didn't bow down. He put them to work. I remember Melania looked stunning and she didn't have a veil on either.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. It was. Now, something that's pretty disturbing. We're running through material here quickly. I'd like to see this end. And it's not going to. These people are so obsessed with Donald J. Trump. One of the things that he didn't drain the swamp, but he lowered the sewage enough that you could see what was in it, Ward.
Oh, yeah.
And my God, it's an ugly sight. I thank the Lord that he exposed. I don't care about the Democrats. The Democrats are going to be my sworn enemy till the day I die, and they'll probably kill me. But the Republicans, there's no excuse at all for them. They are lying. They are hiding. They've infiltrated. I'll bet you if you look at half of them, they really are Democrats, Ward. I mean, this has been going on for so long, at least since the Cold War, where you have these leftists in the Democrat Party and you have these phony conservatives in the Republican Party, and everything just continues to move left. Nothing's moved right in our entire lifetime.
Add to that, you know, the fact that, I mean, think about this. How long did the government say, you know, pull the Biden? They're not bad folks.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were telling us how good China was, and then they were demonizing Russia. And, you know, with the Hillary's dossier and whatnot, and the fact that the media in this country blamed Vladimir Putin for anything and was so insistent upon the fact that this world leader cheated in some way. I mean, to me, that's like a slap in the face. You know, you're slapping, you know, granted, Russia's not our greatest ally, but there's no reason to piss off somebody that's not our enemy. And that's exactly what they were doing.
And what is Russia? What is Russia? Russia is a Christian nation. Regardless of the government they have, the people in Russia they're some of the most religious people in the world when it comes to Christianity. Now, granted, they've gone by the wayside governance-wise, but that's a big country that's similar to us. You know, it's not completely.
But my point.
Go ahead.
But they do that all the time. If you remember when Benghazi happened, the leader of Libya came out, who was newly appointed, and said this was a terrorist attack, and that was by these people. And Hillary and the media and Obama said, no, it's not. This was caused by a video. And they slapped him around on the world stage. And that's what ended up happening is he said, okay. And they said, well, we want to send in investigators. They said, nope.
Yeah.
It took them 3 weeks to get investigators in because they pissed off the king or whatever he was. I don't know what his title is, but the guy that they used to replace Gaddafi.
I forget his name too. I mean, you're never going to replace the colonel. He was never made general, but he did make colonel. Exactly. He was a colonel for 50 years. But you've heard Gates out there, Bill Gates, making the rounds and talking about he thinks that every rich nation should go 100% to artificial beef. Artificial meat. Well, Bill Gates, let me tell you, I'm going to eat your leg before I eat artificial beef. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not. That's not in my future. But I want everybody to understand what this means. Let me translate what Bill Gates is trying to do. Bill Gates, if you get rid of cattle production, you're on your way to getting rid of the farm. You get rid of the farm, you can do what you've always wanted to do, and that's move la-di-da-di everybody into your corrupt, filthy cities. And that's exactly what they want to do. They want to eliminate individual transportation. They want to fill rural and even suburban areas with carnivores, with big animals that eat you. They want everybody in the city. You know this. Take a listen.
At its core, Agenda 21 is about control. Control over land, natural resources, and entire populations. It seeks to control the air by regulation of carbon emissions, the ground by sustainable development, and the sea through environmental regulations. Officially stated, Agenda 21 is a comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations system, governments, and major groups in every area in which human impacts on the environment. Because being human will always have an impact on the environment, Agenda 21 paves the way for extraordinary UN control. When you boil it down, there are 9 basic tenets of Agenda 21. Move citizens off private land and into urban housing. Create vast wilderness spaces inhabited by large carnivores. Eliminate cars and create walkable cities. Support chosen private businesses with public funds for sustainable development. Make policy decisions that favor the greater good over individuals. Drastically reduce the use of power, water, and anything else that creates carbon pollution. Use bureaucracies to make sweeping decisions outside of democratic processes. Increase taxes, fees, and regulations. And finally, implement policies meant to incentivize a reduced population.
This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people.
These idiots are
laughing. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Finally, implement policies meant to incentivize a reduced population.
The Earth just cannot handle the sheer number of humans who live here. Something has to give. And I believe that it's up to us who have lived a good life to make sure that our children will have the opportunity to live good lives too. I have lived a good life.
I have lived a good life.
I have lived.
I can't take any more of that. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Cold War Radio with Ward Miller and Hutch Bailey Jr. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a minute.
One America News Network, your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news. With nearly 4 times as many headlines as the other networks. Straight news, no speculation, no opinion, just the facts. Complete coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One America News Network, your source for credible news.
a representative republic, not a democracy. Cold War Radio celebrates and defends this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. Ward, Sal, and Jack are my wingmen, and your live calls let it all make sense. Join us, Cold War Radio, live on Spreaker and forever on all podcast platforms.
So this idea that saying that Pennsylvania was rigged or that we were trying to steal the election, unquote, that's a lie. And that you do not have the right. That is not protected speech. The second those tweets went up, they should have been deleted. That's not deplatforming someone. It's deleting lies that are yelling fire in a crowded theater when there is none. And there's a difference. That is not protected speech. He can talk all day about what his favorite football team is or that he's the greatest president in the history of the world. But no one, Republican, Democrat, whatever, has the right to say those kind of incendiary lies.
The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star Medal to Christopher Fernandez, Private First Class U.S. Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action while serving with Battery A, 1st Battalion, 21st Field Artillery, 1st Cavalry Division during combat operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom at Baghdad, Iraq on 5 May 2004. On that date, Private First Class Fernandez was on a patrol through Baghdad's Saidiyah neighborhood when insurgents ambushed his unit. An improvised explosive device hit the patrol's rear vehicle. Immediately following the explosion, the patrol was barraged with small arms fire. The patrol's crew-served weapons, an M240B machine gun and a .50 caliber machine gun, immediately returned fire. The IED explosion killed 2 U.S. soldiers, wounded 5 others, and rendered their vehicle inoperable. Private Fernandez returned fire with his weapon, an M249 squad automatic weapon, and reloaded the weapon at least once during the short engagement. In all the chaos, Private Fernandez saw the stricken vehicle's M240 Bravo machine gun was unused. He knew that another weapon would suppress the enemy's fire long enough to evacuate the wounded and leave the area. He left his vehicle, ran to the disabled Humvee, recovered the weapon and its ammunition, and opened fire on the enemy. The weapon's handguards, insulators covering the machine gun's barrel, were blown off in the explosion. Private Fernandez kept firing despite the fact that his hands were burning. Almost 10 minutes later, the wounded were loaded onto Private Fernandez's vehicle and the ambush site was abandoned. Hometown, Tucson, Arizona. PFC Fernandez, job well done, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Alexa, tell the people to stop thinking it's the end of the world. Because it's not. We're going to win, believe me. No matter how many towers they put up there, we'll figure out. Look at history, ladies and gentlemen. They can try. They can try all they want. The Supreme Court, Ward, has ruled to allow the subpoena of President Trump's tax returns to continue. This persecution has to end. I mean, the people of our country need to know that the Democrats, especially the youths, the youthful ones, the youngsters, are acting like communists, and they need to be called out for that. There's no future in our country for this at all. If we don't nip this in the bud, it's going to be a problem.
Well,
it's going to be like Europe is what it's going to be.
Here's the thing. You know, they keep saying that they want these for these investigations and whatnot. You don't think that Mueller looked at everything in his tax returns? You don't think that those tax returns were turned inside out, upside down? Just because they weren't released to the public doesn't mean that they weren't investigated.
Oh, true. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. What they're doing is they're turning it over to this guy, Cy Vance. Remember Cyrus Vance? He was in Jimmy Carter's administration. He was the Secretary of State. I think this is his son. But he's looking for crimes. It's like, give me all this information and let's see how many crimes I can find. That's the way this works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sickening, but it is. It's the way it works. Sean from California, you're up. What's on your mind, brother? Sean.
Hey, what's up?
There he is. There he is. He didn't think he was getting on that quick, see? He went to get a bowl of cereal or something. I know how that works.
No. It's just one of those things that I do have some good stories right now. I'm going to actually just share those with you.
Good.
So I've been working on this project of mine for a year now, a good year. And what happened was, this is one of my model train projects, by the way, the old American red, white, and blue.
One of the funnest things in the world.
The bicentennial, if you will, the one that celebrated the bicentennial.
1976.
Oh, yeah. I got to go all America, baby.
There you go.
So anyways, I had this locomotive for like at least probably a little longer than that. And these things came with incandescent bulbs. Now, incandescent bulbs don't last for, well, I can't say the other word, but you get the idea.
It depends what kind of power you're using. They should last long on a train because that's direct current.
Right. And what happened was, when I got this thing, the bulbs didn't work. I'm like, what's going on here? Why isn't this working? What the hell? So, sure enough, I'm like, oh, to hell with this. So one day I just decided to, you know what? I'm going to install LEDs. So I started to install the LEDs. I used the tinfoil trick to block out light bleed into the cab.
Okay.
Now, mind you, this particular process is a double-edged sword. You can really screw yourself if you don't time it right or don't use the right glue. And I did screw myself. And it ended up costing me a lot more than just the lights itself. It costed me a cab. It cost me the whole damn cab.
Now, you have, you sound like you're pretty into this. Do you have because I never got that far into it, but I used to read all the magazines and things like that. Do you have the locomotive with the in-cab camera? You know what I'm talking about? That you can see that you could actually record film like if you were the engineer of the locomotive going down your layout.
I was thinking about doing that, but then I was like,
that's a lot of money. Got to be money.
It's like $200 for the camera, and then the locomotive nowadays, it's like $500 retail value if you step into a store physically. You went online, it probably cost you $300 now. So, anyways, back to the project. I finally got the LEDs installed now, but I had to order a whole new cab with a shell attached. And I had to peel that shell away from that cab so it was basically a transplant. That's all it was.
Right.
It was a transplant of a cab to my original locomotive shell. And now it's got the LEDs installed, and there's no light bleed, of course. I used the heat shrink instead of the tin foil. Because what happened is, when I put the tin foil on, what I didn't realize is that one of the lights was still bleeding into the cab. And of course, this is a strobe light. Okay, they do the strobes synchronized flashing, and then they sometimes out of sync flash. You know what I'm saying? It was really cool. And then, of course, the decoder's bad now, so now I got to replace that. But it's made in America, so that's good. Yay!
There you go. So that's keeping you busy throughout this. That's a good thing. It really is. I actually saw a layout today. I saw a layout. I was out at the VA, and they have a layout in the lobby of this VA.
Cool.
And it had a lot more Army and military cars and whatnot than I knew existed. I mean, obviously, some guy in the VA's got a budget that won't end. You know, I mean, he get whatever he wants. But it was kind of neat. Well, I like that. So that you're spending a lot of time doing that. Do you interact with any other people that do it, or are you just by yourself?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Well, that's good.
Oh, I do. I created a group, model train people on MeWe.
Outstanding. Good for you.
You know, and I got 475 members now.
Nice.
So,
do you go and do you go watch rail trains too, or are you a rail fan? Or
no, I don't do that.
see, I I was on a ham radio net, a Railfan net. I have to get back on it. It's on Thursday nights. But anyway, final comments. I got some other callers, Sean, but I appreciate you opening up the conversation. Good call.
Well, I'm still looking into that truck that I want to get. I really want my old dad's truck back. I really do. Because this is the fun thing that was really fun about that truck. Whenever we went to sand dunes, here's how it went. When we were bored at our house, or there was nothing really going on other than bomb testing at Naval Base.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that nobody gets freaked out.
Right.
My dad would say, okay, well, I'm off work. The DOD's like, yeah, my day's off. I'm good. All right, family, pack it up. We're going to the sand dunes. We went to the sand dunes, and we would always be bouncing our heads off in the truck cab and everything. Our dad was just having good old time driving that thing all around the sand dunes, and we were going up and down,
Nice.
hills. My mother's head would hit the cab's roof, and she'd be like, stop the truck! And, to me, that was fun because that Ford truck, F-350,
Oh,
1997, man. Oh,
that's
I love
a
it.
big ass truck.
I want my dad's truck back so I can mod the hell out of it.
There you
The
go.
one thing that always killed the fun of that truck was the gas, because that sucker just drank every single time, and we'd watch the gas meter go down and down, and then our dad would say, okay, we're going home now. I got to fill this thing up.
Probably had a 400 in it or a 500. No, not a 5. That was GM. But anyway, all right, Sean, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling. Great call. That's what
Peace
we're
out,
looking
guys.
for. That's what we're looking for.
Take it easy, man.
Let's go to Florida and welcome Val to the show. Hello, Val. What's going on? How are you getting through this?
Oh, I'm getting through this. I'm listening to my local radio today. Hi, Hutch and Ward. Listening to my local radio this morning, and I heard that every single ticket for CPAC, gold, silver, bronze, general admission, is frickin' sold out.
Good. I mean, not for you because you probably wanted to go.
No, actually, I don't want to go. Last year was good enough for me, and in light of everything that's happening now, I'm moving in a week and a half. No, I don't want to go. But I feel that Donald Trump is going to grab a hold of this Republican Party.
I do too.
In a way that some people just don't see it coming, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be intense, and it's going to be fast.
And by God, he needs to name names, too. He needs to name names. It's the only way this is going to work.
It's going to happen. Look at how in 1 week, Cuomo, boom. And you sit there and say, how did this happen so fast?
Newsom,
it's
too.
all going to start happening. Right. It's
I want
all
Wolf.
start
I want Wolf to go, too. Now, our governor got to go. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a lot of governors that have to go, and I think people are seeing that for sure. But I think a lot more intensity is going to hit the fan, and a lot faster than we'll be able to digest it real well. But the people who have believed in their liberal saints, they're going to be in a state of shock.
As they should be for being so stupid. I mean, when you look at the adults, Valerie, that especially like Ward and I, that are around Ward and I every single day, you look at the things these people say and the things these people think, and you're thinking, how did you get so stupid? How can you be religious in your worshiping of this freaking mask that doesn't do shit? Excuse my language, but it's a piece of cloth, and they think it's going to protect them from a virus. They're nuts, but they believe it.
Anger management.
I know.
Anger management.
I also heard that people that are older, that have more experience with politics and with life, are actually faring better through this because they know that this is going to turn around.
I think so too.
People,
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Younger people are having a harder time because they're looking at their whole lives ahead of them, and they're really scared, like Sean. I mean, I
you're
get
right.
it.
But Sean's an old guy. Sean's an old guy. Now, if you look back,
I thought he was in his 20s. All right, well.
No, he is. But when you look back at what he just said, I mean,
Yeah.
you know how long it's been since they used tin and aluminum foil? And he said
That's
tin
true.
foil. You know, I just caught that.
He's an old soul. He's an old soul. That's how he got so smart and keeps up with us.
I know.
That's right.
You heard his
All right,
dad
well,
say
I
that.
just wanted to bring something positive into the show, and I think this CPAC is going to be bigger than big. And I think that Donald Trump is going to totally ride the new Republican Party. He's going to change our House of Representatives and the Senate, and then he's going to move right on back in.
Well, I'll tell you, I hope and President Trump, ladies and gentlemen, hits me as somebody who's methodic in his approach to long-term lessons learned and decision making. And I pray to God that, and I don't pray, I know that he knows this.
No.
When he comes back to Washington, he needs to have his entire entourage already picked, and he just come in there and fire everybody's ass and bring all his people in. No freaking RNC monsters, no GOP people, no consultants, none of that. No current members of Congress. Bring people that you know, brother, that you know.
And he will. And
I don't care if half of them are your family. That's fine. We got to beat this down.
Think of the education we've all gotten. This man has exposed it all methodically, as you just said.
Well, not only that, Valerie, you got to remember, President Biden is also showing us how good a President Trump was.
That's right. Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, go ahead and take other calls. Just wanted to chime in with something positive.
Well, thank you very much, Valerie. That's right in the spirit of where we're going tonight, and I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time.
Great. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Take it easy.
All right. Let's see what we got on the docket here. Let's go to Richmond, Virginia real quick, and then we'll go to the phones. State lawmakers gave final approval today to a bill that will end capital punishment in Virginia, a dramatic turnaround for a state that has executed more people in its history than any other. Yes, you heard that right. It's not Texas. The legislation repealing the death penalty now heads to Democrat Governor Ralph Northam, who has said he will sign the measure into law, making Virginia the 23rd state to stop executions. That's, wow. That's crazy. You know, Virginia was always, I was exposed to Virginia in the Army, actually. I was in an armor battalion in an infantry brigade that there aren't very many of in the Army Reserve, and half of our tanks were located in Virginia, in Blackstone, Virginia, at Fort Pickett. And I always thought Virginia was like a by God state. You know what I mean, Ward? I mean, it was like, this is the Constitution down here, man. You know?
Yeah, not so much.
Not anymore, man. You're right. It's sad. But it was at one time, and I'd love to see that get turned around. But we'll have to pay attention. Let's go to Eugene, Oregon. Marlene, what's going on? What's happening good in Oregon? And plus, you've been trotting around there. You've been on vacation a few times lately.
Well, hi, Hutch, and hi, Ward.
Hey, how you doing?
Not bad. It's nice and sunny. Actually, it's been beautiful down here in California. Now, we haven't done a road trip down to California in a long time, so we went down to the Redwoods, and I tell you, that was wonderful. Every time we go through there, I absolutely love it.
It's on my bucket list one day.
You got it, Hutch. It is absolutely beautiful.
I remember that picture. There was a picture in I don't know if I know I had to have said it. One of my forms of entertainment growing up in the 70s was a full collection of Encyclopedia Britannica from the 60s sometimes.
I remember those.
From the 60s sometimes. And I used to...
800 pound of books.
You damn skippy,
you could
man.
carry in your phone now.
Not right, exactly. And you used to get them in installments sometimes, but they were so good. And I remember that picture of a big giant redwood tree that was so big, a sequoia, that had a tunnel cut through it that cars drove through.
Yes, I know where that is, and when I was younger, we actually did that.
Oh, is there only one? That was one?
There's only one drive-through tree.
Okay, that was cool though.
It's been really fun, but I guess what I haven't mentioned too much, and this is actually kind of funny in a way, we had gone down to Redwoods, and where were we? I think it was about like Eureka, like towards about where the end of the Redwoods are. And then we ended up, we thought, well, let's head back up to Crescent City. Well, I'll be danged if I mentioned on the last show about that landslide. Well, it hasn't gotten any better. It's still, that mudslide is not gone. So we've been trying to figure out how the hell we're going to come back up north. And so we went on, I get on there's a phone number you can call for the California road conditions. 299, not a good idea. That's the one that's up, that's up by Eureka. Highway 36, which puts you into Redding, the Red Bluff, out. In fact, they also had another mudslide.
So is this basically how you're dealing with all this pressure is by traveling?
Because I'm not thinking about all this. I'm not thinking about it. And I'm just not thinking about it. I mean, we're out here enjoying ourselves, having a great time.
That's the way to be.
In fact, one thing, and this I got to tell people because this is hilarious. We were, Rocky might know where some of these highways are. I'm not sure, but we tried to go out Highway 162, which is fine until you get up into the mountains and you get up in the snow. And thank God my rental car is a all-wheel drive, so we were okay there. But we ended up having to turn around and come back after David got me out of there. I've been doing most of the driving, and we came back, and where did we end up last? What was it? Garberville, this little hick town, and we've had some fun. I mean, I've met at least one or two patriots when we were in this little tiny.
Share the show, man. When you do that, make sure you share the show. We need to get more people. I know a friend of mine, Sean's been sharing, but I got a quick story that you reminded me of talking about your all-wheel drive. Yeah, I imagine this, and Ward, this is gonna stick you too, man. I mean, I just bought a Toyota Tundra, which is a full-sized Toyota pickup truck. You know why I bought it, Ward? Because freaking Ford doesn't have a big enough engine. That's a damn shame. I would have had to buy a F-250, which has bigger shocks, bigger everything. I didn't need an F-250. This isn't a work truck. So I refused to buy an F-250. But the Ford, most of them have this engine that's, I forget what the hell they call it, but it's a 6-cylinder that's trying to pretend it's an 8-cylinder. And the guy's dealer's trying to sell me this, and I'm like, well, hold on, man, don't you have an 8-cylinder? Well, yeah. I was like, then give me the 8-cylinder. Don't give me a 6-cylinder trying to be an 8-cylinder. So it's a 5.0 liter. It's 5.0, which is a 300, which is a little tiny V8.
That's like a 302. Maybe.
Yeah, they made it for the Mustang.
Yeah.
The 5.0, if you remember, back in a long
80s.
time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
they made them for cop cars, for Mustang 5.0. And it was good. It was a good engine, but I wanted a bigger engine. And they don't make them.
And at the same time, it's a good engine for a sports car. It's not a good engine for a truck.
Right, exactly.
So I ended up different frames that you're going to be pulling on.
Indeed. And really, and in all honesty, it was pretty strong, but I wanted something bigger. And they couldn't help me at Ford. So I went to Toyota, and they got a 5.7 liter, which is like damn near a 350. And it's that's like the smallest engine that used to be in a Ford. And it actually wasn't even in the Ford.
Wow.
It was in the Chevys, in the GMC models.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that made me think of that. I had to buy a Toyota because Ford didn't have a big enough engine. That's a damn shame. And shows you how their marketing people are. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who wants one. I don't know. I'll tell you something though. All I see around me is tundras. Even in NASCAR,
Yeah.
I was watching NASCAR the other day, and they got freaking all these trucks that were. I guess it was raining in Daytona, and they have all these vehicles that run around, suck the water off the track, and they were all tundras.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Anyway, wrap it up, Marlene. We got a couple other callers.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. But, no, like I said, we've been having a great time, and listening to the
Good.
show is one other way to not think about all this COVID crap.
Well, that's
Yes,
good.
we are the anti-COVID crowd.
Yes, we are.
You got it, Ward. You got it. And now I had to share some funny stories, but we've been having a great time. Maybe we're going to be gone another day or two, so you guys might hear from me. I want to get home by Wednesday night, but we'll see.
All right. Well, don't forget, you never listened to Steel City Resistance on Sunday, so that's still out there.
I know. I felt bad. We were. My internet was so crapless the place where we were at last night. The internet was absolute crapo.
I looked at that.
Now
It's the only
where we
one.
are now,
It's the only one that's never been viewed yet, never been listened to. But anyway, that's all right. All right, Marlene, thanks for calling. That's fine. Say hi to Dave. Hope everything's works out. All right, that's Marlene. Let's go to Tennessee Bell. I'm hoping that's right. That's you, right?
You betcha, baby. That's me.
All right, you're on. What's on your mind? How are you getting through this?
Oh, honey, the snow melted yesterday. I had 6 inches 2 days ago. I've got grass today.
Oh, man. We're getting close. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
Well, it's rained all day, and we still have snow.
Honey, we've got great weather and no state income tax. You need to come here.
Oh, that sounds good now.
Yeah. That's
All
an
right, well,
enticement if there ever was one.
Plus Tennessee whiskey. Oh, but go ahead.
Well, honestly, I prefer Kentucky bourbon, so
Ooh, I like them
had
both.
to Sirocco there.
All right.
Okay, here's my comment for the evening. Although when I hear these calls about what are we doing to get through the COVID deal, honey, in rural Tennessee, we haven't worn masks since last March, unless you.
I love you.
I love you.
I'm just saying.
I've got 2 masks. 2. I carry them in my purse. But last time I had to wear one was sometime in 2020. Who cares? Our county mayor is like, come on, protect yourself if you need to. Otherwise, let's go on with life. So it's
Steve, Ward, this is the kind of mindset that I think we need to reinvigorate our people with.
Once again, let's follow the science. The science of the immune system.
Right.
And the way that works. Isn't that science too?
But not only that, not only that, but Americans used to be arrogant. They're still afraid of us, but they're losing it. And the way you can tell they're still afraid is that the Army's still in D.C. The Army should not be in D.C., in the United States of America. I'm sorry. That's all you need to know, really, is that they're there because they're afraid. The government is afraid. And I mean Republicans, too. Mitt Romney's terrified of us.
The government is afraid of the people.
As well they should be.
Yes.
But the thing is what we have to make sure that our people know before everybody on our side's a metrosexual or whatever you call the people that don't fight. You got to understand that this is the only type of government that they're trying to put on us that you can get into by being stupid, but you have to shoot your way out of. That's what they're trying to do to us. And I think that I love your call, Tennessee. I do. But I think that's the American spirit. Good.
Well, Hutch, honestly, that's a side note. Because I know you're trying to be a little bit more uplifting tonight.
Trying to.
Here's something I want to contribute. Yes. Now, this is going to affect older folks, I guess, but 41 years ago, we beat the Russians in the Olympics, the Miracle on Ice.
Oh, it was beautiful.
You're absolutely right.
Especially being a Penguins fan. That was pretty.
Oh. Do you remember how everybody in the country, we knew who won, But we all went to find a TV that night to watch the replay.
And we all thought it was
everybody
impossible to
so-
win.
Repeat that, please, sir.
You remember back in those days, everybody thought, see, what a lot of people don't realize, and this is something, and you'll get it, Tennessee, and you will too, Ward, and probably most of the audience will. But I remember when this stuff first started, the Trump collusion thing, and the media and these people are saying that the Republicans are colluding with the communists. And it just didn't compute in my mind.
No
Because
way, you don't do that.
Right, my entire educational process showed Ted Kennedy in bed with the communists. And
So
Jimmy
that's why-
Carter and Bill Clinton and everyone else, not Republicans, but yet
That's why they don't teach history anymore, Hutch.
apparently. I thought, and I can't emphasize this enough, I was on the Wayne Dupree show at the time. And I told Wayne, and that was a vast audience. We need to build this audience that big. But I said, listen, this is not going to go anywhere. This does not have legs. America's not stupid. They know the Democrats are with the communists. Well, guess what, folks? They didn't know, and they were that stupid. And that was a wake-up call to me and was part of me deciding that whatever show we do going forward has to have some history involved in it. Because, by God, they're forgetting everything.
Shoot, forgetting it, they're erasing it.
Exactly. And that was one of the things that I really respected about Wayne, is he recognized the fact that the Democrats tearing down all the Confederate Democrat generals in history was them destroying the evidence. And that's what they did. They destroyed the evidence all down south of all the people that they had that were killing whites and blacks for politics.
Well, you know, you just made me think about something, Hutch. You know, where they're removing statues of the Confederate war heroes and whatnot. Did they ever take down Byrd's statue?
No. West Virginia would fall apart.
he is a well-known Klansman.
A Cyclops.
Yeah, whatever the hell, you know.
A recruiter. Head recruiter.
The Grand Cyclops, whatever, Grand Dragon, whatever. But and
Got
and
that
he was
single eye on the forehead like on Twilight Zone. Yeah, that guy.
and he was a U.S. senator.
Sure.
So and they built a
Longest
statue to him in the Senate. So shouldn't that have to be torn down? Saying as well, he was a Klansman.
Ask Joe Manchin.
Well, no, I'd like to ask President Biden because he was the one shaking hands with him and holding his hand up when he was running for re-election.
Joe Biden's one of the
Gentlemen,
most racist individuals on it. Go ahead, ma'am.
Why do you think that Manchin is being so prickly right now with the Democrats? In his state, every street, every park, every mall is named after Byrd.
You're
he
right.
would also like some of that notoriety. He would like to have that kind of acclaim.
He'll never get any of that. He's two bits compared to my man. I mean, that guy was. I mean, he's got a highway. He got interstates named after him. He's got Army Reserve units. He's got Marine Corps depots. I mean, Byrd is West Virginia.
Every town has 25 points in their community named after Byrd.
Oh, you're right.
And Manchin is acutely aware of that and would like to replicate that for himself.
And let's not make any mistake about it either. The organized crime has a hold of West Virginia as well. If you don't believe me, just ask Whitey Bulger. He lasted 15 minutes in West Virginia, and they took his eyes out and put him in his hands. I mean, West Virginia is a tough place. It's tougher than a lot of people think. Any other feel-good stories, or are you just, we're not even participating in this?
Give me 3 more points.
Okay.
And I can come back. We'll talk about these another time. What you just said about Manchin and Byrd and the mafia.
Yeah.
My father was a coal miner.
Okay.
We were part of the UMWA.
Oh, let's talk. I'll tell you about that.
I witnessed stuff.
So you know Richard. You've heard of Richard Trumka then? former vice president of the U.S. Mine Workers. My dad was in the Mine Workers. I mean, and these guys.
How about Yablonsky?
Jocko Yablonsky. Ward knows heard of him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Jocko
Someday. All right. Well, if we ever get to that point, I'll call back in. All right.
I'll have you as a guest. You want to talk? You want to talk about that? I'll have you as a guest. That's because that's stuff that's totally intriguing to me. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I remember. Do you remember? Back in the day when this was all going on, Tennessee, it was the heyday of Life magazine and Time magazine, and they had that photographic. Yeah. The photographic journalism was outstanding, and I remember during the coal mine wars, where they had like photographs of dudes with M16s, man, up on the coal mines, civilians and mob guys, whatever. I mean, it was a real war. And Trumka and the U.S. mine workers killed some scabs and got away with it, man. They paid the family off. The family was like, all right, we'll take that $1 million. Forget this court case.
And the country paid no attention.
Nothing. Didn't even care. And Yablonsky, hell, they shotgunned him and his family in his house just for a union vice president. That's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Oh, we got a live. This is going to be good. All right, Tennessee.
Okay, hang on. Let me have 2 more points, please.
You got it.
Okay, thank you, sir. When we were talking about the hockey, Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
At that time, everybody was against. We had the Cold War against Russia. The Russians.
The Soviet Union, not Russia. The Soviet Union.
All right.
The USSR.
Correct. The CCCP, right?
Right. Yep.
Nowadays, the only person that ever brought our attention to the other communists, the Chinese,
right?
President Trump,
the
CCP. Nobody pays attention to it. It's the same situation.
You just
but the
made
media
me
is blinding us to it.
You just made me think of something. The Republican president that gave us access to the CCP, the PLA, was Richard Nixon. And what he did was he traded.
He opened the door.
He traded 58 million KIAs in Vietnam so we could get into China. That's what he did. Him and Henry Kissinger. They did that.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go, Hutch.
Thank you so much. Great call.
Later, boys. Bye-bye.
Great call. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go to Virginia first, the Commonwealth of Virginia. This got to be Regina. And then we're going to go to Nevada next. But Regina, you're up now. Hello.
Hello, Hutch.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank goodness for
I'm
being
doing
Regina, because it says unknown caller. That was a gamble, but it worked. Go ahead.
Well, she's running a proxy through. She's jumping all over the planet.
She's running the NSA, Regina.
Exactly. She's
don't let her fool you.
Doing NSA attacks on us.
Dan Skippy, man.
It looks like she's coming from Belarus, man. What's going on?
There's not even a picture or a map or anything. It's just purple. It's like unknown caller. So she's got it fixed. She knows what she's doing.
I'm trying something else. I'm trying something new.
It's working.
Stuff like that because I got nervous when all this stuff started going down. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try something new.
It's working.
So so I was gonna call in. I guess with some good thoughts. I guess.
Yeah, how you staying sane? How's everything? Staying in focus. That's what we're trying to get some good stuff here.
I pretty much been reading the Bible. See, a lot of people kind of are not doing that these days, and a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of things that went down back in the olden days that are kind of sort of being repeated now, and some of the stories.
You're right. You're absolutely right. History repeats itself.
And it's arrogant. It's arrogant to think that you're the first people that have ever done anything. When you look in history and you look at the depths of history and the different. Now, obviously, if somebody invents something with some new technology, that's not what I'm talking about. But the regular day-to-day social interaction and different reactions to negative things that happen, none of this stuff's new. I mean, we're not you look at us and you try to, you try to say that we're going through tough times. Give me a break. Look in history. Just think of life without washing machines. Just simple things like that. Simple things that aren't that far back in our history. Think of life without washing machines. You ever look at any pictures, any photographs, or even paintings, but mostly photographs of women on the American plains, on the American scene before washing machines, refrigerators, and stuff like that? They always look mean.
Clothes by hand.
Yeah, can you imagine doing that? What about in February? The old man's like, woman, I need some clothes. And she's like, damn, it's 3 degrees out there. I don't care.
Oh. Believe it or not, guess what? I had to wash clothes by hand as a kid.
Really? I don't doubt that. I remember watching, now I wasn't in the United States, but I grew up in a city. But I remember in Korea watching 20 Korean women sitting around a artificial pond washing clothes. They had billy clubs, and they would take the cloth and beat it with these clubs and turn it over and beat it and turn it over and beat it and add soap. I'm thinking, oh my God, what a life. But if you look at the pictures, the historic pictures of American women back in the day, there's not one of them smiling. They're pissed off.
And every one of them would beat your ass.
Every single one of them. Every single, you should talk some communist shit in front of one of those women, and you're through.
Oh yeah, and another thing I learned that I'm learning through the Bible that a lot of people don't connect the dots with. There was a lot of cities being taken over, but back then they didn't have I guess law enforcement, so they can go in and just pretty much murder a whole city and take it over, take the women and children and just take it over. See, a lot of people don't associate that with the Bible, but once you sit down and read it, actually, that's what they did back then.
Especially the Old Testament, right?
Then. They was going in there, taking over cities, killing all the men, pretty much.
Yeah,
taking the women and children.
Well, that happened, and one of the things that I really learned from Rush Limbaugh was his way of depicting the world, and it was always around the phrase or the idea of American exceptionalism. And you heard Obama's Kenyan version of that, and you've heard others' anti-American versions of that, but really what American exceptionalism is it's almost based on the root word of exceptionalism. It's almost based on accept. You know, the default position across the entire world, including Europe, not so long ago, was slavery, gulags, murder, and poverty, with the possible exception of the United States of America, because our rights were given to us by God, not by men. And when we get rid of God, which is what Biden and every one of these bastards is trying to do, then you don't have that anymore. If there's no God, then how can God give you your rights, your unalienable rights that are alienable as hell in this country as we live in it today? But back on the brighter
pretty
note.
much, Yep, and a lot of people haven't been noticing this.
Right? No, I agree.
You know, a lot of people haven't been noticing what I've been noticing. A lot of the mega churches, they're supposed to be for the people, supposed to be helping the people. They're not.
I never had a whole lot of time for those big ones. I like the little ones. I don't know.
Yeah, and believe it or not, some of the little ones are having difficulties too.
I know. They're
Because
they're
I
broke.
kind of sort of mentioned this a while back about the 501(c) thing that they have for the churches.
Yeah, the C3s.
That kind of sort of opened the door for the government to come in. So right now, some of the churches are government churches, and a lot of people haven't connected the dots to that yet.
Well, hopefully
So
they
the-
can
so-
get back in the fight. You know, a lot of it was they took them out of the fight, and most of the churches capitulated.
They took them out of the fight, but some of the churches have become corrupted.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, they you know, before national and state welfare, the churches took care of that.
Yeah,
You
pretty
know?
much. Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's like, well, you know, we have this money, but we don't have to give it back to the community. The government's doing that, so let's make sure they stay elected. And then, you
pretty
know.
much.
All right, Regina,
because
I got like 10 minutes. Wrap it up. I got one more caller, and we got to get
Yeah,
out of here.
I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna just say this last thing. A lot of people are not paying attention to that, and that's the sad part.
But we're going to help them out with that. That's what we do here. Hopefully we can get some more listeners. So if you see anybody that needs to listen to some of this stuff, let them know. And thank you so much for calling. We always appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Regina from Virginia. Let's go to my man, the first time calling live from Reno, Nevada. Tom, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Hutch, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing good.
So,
Glad to hear
hey,
from
Ward, how you doing, Ward? Ward, Hutch.
Good, thank you.
Right on. Hey, I'm out here in Elko. Just got called to go back on a train, head back. I was listening. I was in the gym a little while ago, just listening. You beat up on A Radio on Friday night show.
I shouldn't have done that, but you know,
Oh, thank
sometimes
God
things
for
just
Jack.
happen. Right. Yeah, he saved him. He did. I was out of hand. That's why you notice how I regrouped and purposed tonight's show a little bit. It's like, all right, I got anger management issues, man. Ward knows.
It was a 3 hour, man. I think you were one more bourbon in you or something. I forget, but
That's right. And you know, no, you're right. And I decided, Tom, you know what we're going to do, and Jackal like this. From now on, Friday shows are going 2 hours, just like the rest of them. That's too many hours for me because people don't understand. When Rush Limbaugh goes 3 hours, that's an hour and 40 minutes. When Hutch Bailey Jr. goes 3 hours, that's 2 hours and 55 minutes if I take a break. You know,
I think
it's too
also
long.
with your surgery and how you're recovering at
exactly.
You know, our body don't accept the
That's a
things
fact.
the same.
You got it, brother. You're right on. You are.
You're right on. Hey, so this question's for Ward.
All right.
I really wanted to call up because I think you might. Anyways, what do you think? And I know this might be off subject. I was like, I got to call up. Anyways, what do you think of Mike Lindell's special on OAN? And then a couple of weeks later, how Steve Bannon, they broke it down. I don't know if you saw it or not. Just wondering, you know, what you thought, or did you?
I did see the. Excuse me. I saw Lindell's thing. I think it was well put together. I think that a lot of the information that he got was not presented to the American people. You know, the fact that the way that the media's worked to suppress information about the election. You know, if you talk to somebody that didn't do anything but watch the news, and I did, and they'd say, well, there's no election fraud. They said on the news there's no election fraud. Any thoughts of election fraud is just insane. And that being said, that I think that's to me the most heinous part of this entire thing is the way that the media has treated the American people and the way that they've lied to us. And nobody's actually dug in and said, wait a second, this is crap. You lied to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we do it on the internet and on this show and, the different social media platforms we're on. We'll do it until we get kicked off.
No, we don't lie though. No, we don't
But
lie.
we don't
here.
lie. No,
This show
that's
does
my
not
point.
lie. And if this show makes a mistake, I'll say it.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, they went back 2 years to ban me from Facebook for something I posted in 2018 was what got me kicked off the last time for 60 days I'm still in the middle of that one. So I still can't post anything on Facebook, but that's the way it is. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, that's what we have to do as a people. We have to start demanding that they tell us the truth. Because that's why the clip that Hutch played from CNN, they have nothing to tell you because they can't say anything about Biden because there's nothing positive to say. So they know they can't say anything negative about him. So then, therefore, you can't talk about it. So what do they got left? Well, let's see what we can dig up about Trump. Oh, wait, we got some taxes. We're going to go after his taxes. And the thing is, and like I said before, the taxes are going to come out fine because they've already been investigated. They just weren't made public. And so he can go and look at them all he likes because you don't think that Mueller did? You don't think that Mueller, and what was the other, Horowitz? You don't think both of those guys who are complete Democrats didn't dig into every possible nuance of Donald Trump's finances to find anything?
Absolutely. I believe what you're saying there.
There's no way.
I was just really wondering. I figured on the show, the three hosts, I figured, Ward might be more in touch with this one.
So I got, and you're right, and I got a question for you though. Something that's more railroad oriented, right?
Let's do it.
You see a long train running down the road, and obviously in Pittsburgh we have lots of them. And you've got several locomotives facing the way that the train is moving, and I understand that's the more engines or locomotives, the more weight that the train's pulling. But what's the deal with the engines facing the other way that are in line? They're in line with the pullers, but they're facing.
Those are our trailing units. When I started back in '91, we usually had about 3 units at the head end, average train length about 4,500 feet.
Okay.
And the locomotives were the old EMDs, and they're about 2,500 horsepower.
Right.
Nowadays, these things are like 4,000 horsepower. They're all GE.
Electromotive, all of them electromotives. In other words, the power plant powers the generator that propels the locomotive.
Yeah, it's a big V12, I believe. Each piston is the size of a Chevy 350.
Right. I love
it. It's insane.
Love it, man.
It's got a drive shaft that goes to a big generator. And then and coming out of that generator is another drive shaft that goes
gets
to
me
an
excited.
Air compressor.
You're getting me excited now. But what about the engines pointed backwards? What are those?
Okay, those, like I said, those are just our trailers. We put those in trail. That means the lead locomotive is operating the second and third unit.
Right.
It doesn't matter when we put it in trail. It just follows the leader.
What, it's just there for backup, or why is it there?
Oh, it's all power. We're using all that power.
So it's in reverse.
Well, when I set it up in trail, when I set the second, third unit up in trail, it's going to emulate whatever I do at the lead because of the lead locomotive I set up in lead. So it's going to, if I put it in forward and then notch it out a couple, it's going to emulate the second and third unit are going to emulate whatever the first unit's doing. But you have to manually put it in trail or lead.
Wow.
Now, if I had the first unit in lead and I mistakenly didn't put the second unit in lead or in trail and left it in lead, wouldn't operate properly, of course.
All right. So I appreciate that. I want to know, so how are you? Is this election, coronavirus, all that affecting you, or are you just going about your life? I imagine you live, obviously, out in the Northwest. Is this affecting
it's terrible
you?
up here. I mean, these guys out here, they really.
So what are you doing? What are you doing to offset that? What are you doing to make life? I mean, I don't know if you're married or whatever. It doesn't matter. But you know what? How is what are you doing to make it easier? That's kind of the theme tonight.
Oh, okay. What am I doing to make it easier?
Or to make it more
this
bearable.
is what I'm doing. Here it is. Been trying to get into the Bible, and like I've come to the thing where like I'm that Roman.
Right.
I told Jesus I believe, but help me with your unbelief. Help me with my unbelief. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, man.
So,
yeah, I do.
Trying to get centered that way a bit. Just go to work and just try and love on the family. I do have a wife and 2 boys.
Great.
And they're doing good. One works down at the hospital. The other one's a UPS guy. And
oh, you got grown kids. I do too. Isn't that great, man? I have grown kids too. I love watching them, man.
Beautiful thing. It really is watching these guys turn into young men. And
man,
we just had Sunday brunch, and I'm like, boy, I hope we can make that like a regular thing. Sunday brunch.
Do they come see you and everything? Mine do. I love it. It's my boy doesn't come around as much as my daughter, but he still comes around, and it's nice because I don't know if your sons or father are following you into what you do, but I retired as a chief warrant officer 4. I actually got selected for 5, and my son's in the career captain's course right now, and he's going to end up being a general. It's great to watch, man. It really is.
Yeah, no. One, like I said, one's UPS, and the other one is working
That's
down
good.
at the hospital.
Nothing wrong with that, man. My daughter works in not a jail, but the next step down from a jail, renewal center. Right next to the county jail where people go to halfway, and she's doing good too. Anyway, man, thanks for calling. I always appreciate it, and you're special to us. You are. That train thing. That's intoxicating to a lot of us. Especially if you're from the Northeast.
Believe me, any questions I can answer them. But we could talk all day long how they've gone to 10,000 footers, units on the rear end and the middle. Oh my God, it's pretty high.
I'd love to. Ward, any final questions or comments?
No, I appreciate the calls. Thanks for calling in. Like Hutch said, tell your friends, man.
Yeah,
the more the merrier.
Tom, you're one of my favorite callers, man.
Buddy,
go ahead.
I got one buddy who listens. He's getting a little aggravated with the commercials that break up in the middle of the podcast. I'm like, just hang in there, man.
I'll tell you what, man.
Come on.
Those little commercials allow me to pay my not pay, but allow me to share some of the benefits with our co-hosts. So thank you.
First thing I told him much is like, well, once you get on, become a patron, man. Come on now.
There you go. There you go. And thank you for that
quick.
too. Tom, you're a big patron. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Real quick. The P.O. box.
Yes, sir.
That's where I send a box to, right?
If you have a box,
you a package.
Yes, sir.
Sending you a package, so P.O. box it. All right.
You need me to tell you the name again, the number again, or you got it?
No, I got them on the podcast or in the beginning of the show.
All right, brother. If you're try not to send like train stuff. That shit's too heavy. But no, I'm just kidding. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
All right,
take it easy.
All right, Ward, man. I tell you, these are great people, man.
Absolutely.
We're so lucky to have these audience members, man. I mean,
you got that right.
He's been listening for ages, and he's a pretty big patron too. I'd have to look it up, but I got like several clips here. I know it's time to go. So, do you want to hear Ice, Psaki, or Scalise?
I'd go with Scalise. I like Scalise better.
Scalise. Here we go.
Welcome back. Congress expected to vote this week on the Democrats' nearly $2 trillion COVID relief or /rescue package. But there's more in the fine print that's really going to aggravate you.
Here to break it all down, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Mr. Scalise, good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with
Bernie
you.
Sanders
good to have you as well.
Supporter shot
when you
him.
hear COVID rescue, you think, oh, that's great. All the money is going to go to COVID. But when you look at what's included, it looks like the $15 per hour minimum wages in there, $270 million for arts and humanities, $200 million for museums and libraries, $50 million for family planning, and $112 million for Bay Area rapid transit funding in Nancy Pelosi's district.
I hate Democrats.
It doesn't look like all that money's going to COVID.
Right. It gets worse than that, unfortunately, when you look at the bill that Pelosi's bringing this week. Less than 10% of the money in this massive $1.9 trillion bill is for health-related items. I thought this was supposed to be about recovering from COVID. Start with the biggest item, $350 billion to bail out failed states. Look, California just announced a surplus of $10 billion, and they're going to get probably tens more billion from this bill. New York State.
You see what this does, Ward? This is Pennsylvania, New York, California, Michigan, New Jersey, spending crazy money, but cutting off commerce from almost every business in their states, except for the ones that support communist China, like Walmart and those type of stores, Lowe's and Sam's Club. But the little Gino's Pizza Shop and the travel agencies totally destroyed them. And now they want the states that didn't destroy them
to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's sickening to me. And that's
absolutely,
unfortunately, where we live. That's what our state government is trying to get the rest of the country to do, is to hate us and pay for our malfeasance.
We had an amendment to require New York to report the nursing home death data that Governor Cuomo's been covering up, the major scandal in New York. Do you know that every Democrat, including the Democrats from New York, voted against requiring that Cuomo has to disclose the nursing home death data to get tens of billions of dollars for New York? This is in the bill. Again, minimum wage, you mentioned the $15 minimum wage. What does that have to do with COVID relief? In fact, for small businesses who are dying on the vine, like that heartbreaking story you just, Ainsley just talked about, those small businesses are going to have an even harder time coming back when you go to a $15 minimum wage. These things have nothing to do with COVID. The school bill, this should be about helping schools safely reopen so kids can be learning in the classroom. We've seen this study.
All right. I'm cutting this off early, Ward, because I know you got to go. I know you got to get up in the morning. I got a couple quick things that need to come out. Chinese state media boasted of China's massive military buildup over the weekend while simultaneously claiming Beijing wants nothing more than to renew friendly dialogue with the United States under the Biden asterisk administration. China's state-run Global Times reported yesterday that the PLA has developed a new type of training. Anyways, they're off the rails preparing for war. And you also have this reminds me, Ward, of when we used to have so many show notes with Steel City Resistance, and at the end, we gave each one, we said like 5 seconds for the last 12 stories. I got 2 stories left. Biden administration cancels ICE operations, removing sex offenders from the United States. America, if this doesn't piss you off, you should go to another country.
Biden doesn't want to lose his family.
As the White House overhauls immigration policy, ICE scraps Operation Talon, a program to remove convicted sex offenders in the country illegally.
Pedophiles.
But 18 attorneys general are urging President Biden to reverse the decision, writing, quote, the cancellation of this program effectively broadcasts to the world that the United States is now a sanctuary jurisdiction for sexual predators. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody signed that letter and joins me now. Attorney General, thank you for being here with us this morning. So can you just speak a little bit to the importance of Operation Talon and the potential consequences of scrapping that?
Absolutely. As you know, states like Florida, who really struggle with combating human trafficking, we're third in the nation in terms of calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. We rely on the federal government to assist our local and state law enforcement and remove those that are lurking in our communities that are sexual predators and
sick.
that are preying on our most vulnerable. And so to have an administration, Joe Biden, cancel an operation that is focusing on sexual offenders in our country, as the Attorney General of Florida, certainly, but as a mother, it's horrifying.
I'm not sure I understand what justification would exist for its removal. Is there any reason you can see for why this operation would be removed, or what the reasoning behind that would be?
Absolutely none. I was a former federal prosecutor. Effective, targeted operations, cross administrations. These operations help agents do their jobs, especially for states like Florida that rely on federal agencies and law enforcement to help them remove these dangerous people from our communities. There is no reason this operation should be canceled. And, you know, the message to Joe Biden is to stop tying our hands in law enforcement and let the men and women that took the oath to protect these communities do their jobs. And that's to protect those within our states. And the only way we can do that, I mean, the state of Florida can't go out and remove and deport criminal predators within our communities. We need the federal government to do their job. Is it
all right? I got to move on. I mean, you got the point. I got one more clip, and we're going to wrap this up. This is Jen Kawasaki. She won't condemn Andrew Cuomo. She won't do it, man. These guys are lockstep, trying to protect each other.
Well, she got
okay, I want to turn to another controversy that raged this week. Andrew Cuomo under fire for allegedly not being transparent and misleading on the number of nursing home deaths in New York. Last spring, President Biden cited Andrew Cuomo as the gold standard for leadership during the pandemic. Take a listen.
He's the Alzheimer's.
Your governor of New York's done one hell of a job. I think he's sort of the gold standard.
So now we've seen that Governor Cuomo has allegedly undercounted nursing home deaths, misled legislators in New York, and he called New York Assemblyman Ron Kim, raising questions, basically threatening to destroy him, I think was his actual words. So does President Biden still consider Andrew Cuomo the gold standard when it comes to leadership on the pandemic?
The diarrhea standard.
Well, John, we work with Governor Cuomo just like we work with governors across the country. He's also chair of the NGA, so he plays an important role in ensuring that we're coordinating closely and getting assistance out to people of his state and to states across the country. And we'll continue to do that. And there, of course, will be a process. The investigations will leave that to others to determine, the appropriate law enforcement authorities to determine how that path is going to move as we look forward. But we are going to continue to work with a range of governors, including, of course, Governor Cuomo, because we think the people of New York, the people of states across the country need assistance, not just to get through the pandemic, but to get through this difficult economic time, and that's where our focus remains.
All right, but Jen, my question was, does President Biden still believe that Andrew Cuomo is the gold standard, represents the gold standard on leadership during this pandemic? Just a yes or no. Does he
well, John, the president. The president. Well, it doesn't always have to be a yes or no answer, John. I think the president.
It doesn't have to always be.
But when it is a yes or no question,
Jonathan,
nice.
Right? Jonathan Karl wears a dress. I mean, he's a little queer, but you know, Jen Kawasaki. I'll never forget the picture of her with the tray with the wine and cheese as she worked for John Kerry. It makes you wonder what else she did for John Kerry. And I just want to. Everybody to understand that's listening on Spreaker.
Not a lot because she's a woman.
Indeed. The picture on Spreaker. A police officer in Kentucky was fired Friday over allegations that he gave a Black Lives Matter organizer information about other officers working protests that could be used to insult, intimidate, and harass. Lexington police officer Jervis Middleton, that's the dude in the picture, was relieved of his duties following a unanimous vote by the Lexington Fayette Urban County Council after a 9-hour hearing and 2 hours of closed deliberations, the Lexington Herald-Leader reported Officer Middleton's conduct during a highly stressful and potentially vulnerable time during the history of our community, the most significant policing event in our community in 20 years, demonstrates that he should no longer be a police officer, said Keith Horn, a lawyer for the city of Lexington, according to the Herald-Leader. And Ward, I just wanted to bring that up because I wanted you to know, and you could probably verify it, that if that dude was a police officer in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they'd have named a freaking school after his ass. Yeah, they'd have named a school after him, a bike lane after him, and anybody that said anything about him will get their taxes reviewed. That's where we live. Thank you for everybody listening to the show. Ward, how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in doing that? And thank you for a great show. I appreciate the extra few minutes, man. Thank you, sir.
No worries, my brother. You can always find me on, I'm not on the same places anymore. I'm on MeWe. I'm on Gab. Most of them are Wardy. If you look up Wardy or Wardy22, that's usually what I end up being. Any social media you're on, look for Wardy, and it's probably going to be me.
You're like me. And how can we have, on MeWe at least, and in Gab, I think we have Cold War Radio groups or pages?
Yeah, no, we have it on all of them. We have it on Cloud Hub, MeWe, and on Gab.
And how can people get those?
Just go search for Cold War Radio. I almost said Steel City Resistance.
I know, man. I got you, brother.
Look up Cold War Radio on any of them platforms and you'll find us.
All right. Thank you so much. Great show, man. Always appreciate it, especially on Monday. Go to rsbn.bandcamp.com. Check out Jacob Seals. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., man. I want to thank everybody for calling up, and thank you for adhering to the call-in recommendations for this evening. I enjoyed those good stories, Ward. I really did. And that was something. We're going to have to do that again, I think. That's something that I think we can always share. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for checking in for a couple hours, giving us part of your life. We'll be back on Wednesday. God bless.